welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a source that's all about transformation. Jen Sincero's You Are a Badass. Our mission here is pretty clear. Extract a real roadmap for you to help you shake off, well, what Sincero calls that lukewarm life.
Yeah, and it's important to start where she does, which is admitting she found this whole self-help world kind of cringy at first. She uses words like unforgivably cheesy, talking about rah-rah churchiness. She's definitely not an easy convert.
Which I think makes it relatable, right?
Yeah.
For anyone who feels that resistance. She looked at her own life, the parking tickets, eating dollar tacos alone, relationships kind of fizzling out, and just felt, well, unimpressed.
Exactly. And that feeling, that dissatisfaction, it sets up the absolute core idea of the book. It boils down to something simple but powerful, shifting from just wanting change to actually deciding to change.
Okay, let's break that down. Wanting versus deciding. Why is just wanting not enough?
Well, according to Sincero, wanting is totally passive. It doesn't require anything from you. You can want something, like she says, sitting on the couch with a bong in your hand. It's just a wish, really. Maybe someday.
Ah, okay. So deciding is active. It's the commitment. That's when you stop wishing and you jump in all the way. She has that great line about going after dreams with the tenacity of a dateless cheerleader a week before prom night.
Yeah. It's about total commitment. Failure isn't the end. It's just, part of the process you push through. But before you can make that leap, she says we need to understand why we're stuck. The source of our fuck-dupedness, as she puts it.
The wiring.
And she offers a bit of comfort there. It's not entirely your fault. This stuff, this foundation, it gets passed down, generational patterns.
Okay, so let's get into the mechanics of the mind she describes. Two parts, right? And the one we think is in charge isn't.
Pretty much. You've got the conscious mind. That's your frontal lobe, the analytical part. It thinks, it worries, it judges, it kicks in around puberty, and definitely thinks it's running the show, making all the logical calls.
But the real power player is the subconscious mind.
Absolutely. It's non-analytical. From birth, and crucially when you're a kid, it just absorbs everything from the outside world as truth. No filter. So if your family vibe was money is hard to come by or relationships always end badly, that becomes your subconscious blueprint. It runs in the background, often sabotaging what your conscious mind wants.
That explains that feeling she mentions, like driving with one foot on the gas, one on the brake.
Exactly. Consciously, maybe you want financial success, but subconsciously, you believe money causes problems. So what happens? You keep hitting an invisible ceiling, you stay broke, or money slips through your fingers, the blueprint is working against you.
Or, consciously wanting love, but subconsciously linking intimacy with pain, maybe from what you saw growing up.
Precisely. Leads to always being single or relationships that just never quite solidify, like the author's own past experiences. She even talks about her own family, that WASP background where avoiding conflict was key. Freeze, talk about the weather, go blank.
Passed down like a recipe, but maybe not such a killer one.
Right. And she didn't see it until she observed her own reactions and thought, wait a minute, this isn't even me, this is learned behavior.
So identifying these subconscious rules is the first step because they feel so normal.
Awareness is key. That's step one. You have to figure out what limiting beliefs are actually driving your life. She uses the dead skunk under the porch analogy. You smell something awful, you try fixing everything else, new paint, air fresheners, but until you find and remove the actual source, the stink remains.
Got it. Find the skunk. Okay, so once you're aware, what's next? How do you start changing things?
That brings us to energy, frequency. Sincero talks about the G word, God, universe, source energy, whatever term works for you. The core idea leans on what Tesla said. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration.
So it's not just about hustling harder.
No, action alone isn't enough if your internal energy, your core belief system, is vibrating at a low frequency, like fear or doubt. The trick, she says, is to cultivate the feeling, the belief, that what you want is already yours, even before you see physical proof. It's about shifting from that ancient fear being kicked out of the tribe to having faith in something bigger, something unseen you're calling in.
Okay, faith in the unseen. But how do you actually do that? How do you maintain that high vibration belief when, say, reality looks pretty different, like rents do?
Right. That's the million-dollar question. And that's where her practical tools come in. It starts with self-love. She calls it the holy grail of happiness. You have to become your own biggest supporter, basically. And she gives some really concrete ways to do that.
like ditching the self-deprecating jokes. That one seems tough for a lot of people.
Yeah, she's super direct about it. Stop making fun of yourself. Every time you do it, even kidding, it's like, well, hitting yourself with a crowbar, she says. You're reinforcing the idea to yourself and others that you're somehow lacking. It lowers your vibe.
And the other big one for self-love, stop caring what people think. That sounds freeing, but also hard.
Totally. She puts it in all caps in the book. Do not waste your precious time giving one single crap about what anybody else thinks of you. It's about reclaiming your energy. The only questions that matter before you act are, do I want this? Does it move me forward? Does it harm anyone else?
And importantly, someone else being disappointed or disapproving doesn't count as harming them, right?
Exactly. That distinction is huge. Fear of judgment keeps so many people stuck. She tells that story about loincloth man in Utah. This guy living off grid, totally doing his own thing.
Oh yeah, with a fancy leather loincloth.
The fancy Italian leather crotch pelt. He was just himself, completely unbothered by what anyone, including her, thought. He was happy, present. That's the kind of high-frequency freedom she's talking about. Comes from radical self-acceptance.
We could all use a bit more loincloth man energy. Okay, so self-love boosts the frequency. What else? You mentioned gratitude.
Yes, gratitude. Not just saying thanks, but really feeling it. She calls it the gateway drug to awesomeness. It's a state of being. When you're genuinely grateful, you connect to that source energy, you vibrate higher, you align with abundance.
And this connects to manifesting what you want.
Big time. This leads to what she calls the high holy moly of manifesting. It's mixing faith and gratitude. Key is being grateful for things before they actually show up in your reality.
Like being thankful for amazing parking spots before you even leave the driveway.
Exactly that. You're signaling to the universe, I know this is already mine. You're matching the frequency of what you want to receive.
Okay, so awareness of the old blueprint. Raise the frequency with self-love and gratitude.
Yeah.
Then comes the action part, the almighty decision. But you mentioned resistance.
Oh yeah, major resistance. Sincero calls it the big snooze, BS. Your shadow self, basically. It's the part of you terrified of change because the familiar, even if it's painful, feels safer. And here's the heads up she gives. When you really commit to a big change, life often turns to shit before it turns to shinola.
Right. That's the part that throws people. You decide to go for it, feel amazing, and then bam, car trouble, unexpected bills, drama.
Exactly. It feels like a sign to quit, but she argues it's the BS stirring up chaos, trying to scare you back into your comfort zone. Self-sabotage.
So pushing through that chaos is crucial. That requires the decision, not just trying.
Absolutely. That's why it's the almighty decision. It's non-negotiable. You've decided this is happening, period. Temporary setbacks don't change the destination.
She uses that Henry Ford story, right? The V8 engine.
Classic example. Ford wanted an 8-cylinder engine cast in one single block. His engineers kept saying, impossible. They showed him why. Technically, it couldn't be done.
But Ford didn't back down.
Nope. He just said, basically, I don't care if it's impossible, make it possible. It can be done, and it will be done. He didn't negotiate the outcome. He forced them to persist until they figured it out, which eventually they did.
That really highlights the difference. So often we say we've decided, but really we've just decided to try until it gets uncomfortable.
Exactly. Ford embodied that idea of going from failure to failure without loss of enthusiasm. That's real commitment. And this mindset helps tackle things like procrastination, too, or perfectionism.
Feeling like you're not ready, not qualified.
Which is often just fear in disguise. Sincero admits she stretched the truth on her resume for a job she really wanted because the decision to go for it was stronger than the fear of being unqualified.
So done is better than perfect. Just get moving.
Right. Momentum builds on itself. It's incredibly powerful. And finally, tackling the BS means tackling fear directly. Fear, she argues, is just a habit, a choice. It always focuses on a negative future that hasn't happened.
So you have to consciously choose not to engage with it.
Yes, or flip it. Ask yourself honestly, what's actually worse? Risking failure by going for what you want, or guaranteeing mediocrity and regret by staying put. The promise is that freedom lies on the other side of that fear after you push through the BS.
Okay, so let's recap the cycle Sincero lays out.
First, get brutally honest. Become aware of those limiting subconscious beliefs, the BS. Second, actively raise your frequency. Practice radical self-love. Stop caring what others think and cultivate deep gratitude even for what hasn't arrived yet. Third, make the almighty decision. Commit 100%, expect the chaos, and push through it because your new reality is non-negotiable.
It sounds like it requires a fundamental shift in perception. Which makes me think of that Einstein quote she uses. Reality is merely an illusion, albeit a very persistent one.
Yeah. And that illusion only persists as long as you let the old blueprint run things. Sincero suggests you're surrounded by infinite better realities, just waiting for you to choose one, to ask it to dance, basically.
So the final thought for you, listening right now, is really a challenge based on that. What's one ridiculous, amazing, excuse-free fantasy you can choose to focus on, starting today, to begin making that your new, persistent reality?